My very favorite thing to do is communion. And so that's been the greatest blessing. I am kind of unconventional. I make up things instead of just going with the ritual. And many times people have shared that the Holy Spirit was working and that there was blessing there. And I think that's one of the great gifts that the United Methodist Church has, that we do communion on a regular basis, and people can draw closer to God in that way. And each part of ministry really shares God's love, from doing Bible studies and prayer times and communion with each other, and just the children's time, the sermons, the volunteer and mission trips, just everything that makes up the life of ministry really shares God's love in very tangible ways. One way that is very evident is funerals, when you can be there and help a family get through one of the most difficult times ever, and see that they are comforted, and that God is at work in their lives, and that they have hope. Then that's really a true gift to the family and to the ministry that you're involved in, and just is neat. And of course, weddings and baptisms, you hold those little babies, or equally special, an adult who wants to be baptized and wants to come to God in that special way. It's just a real joy. Well, we started out in Kansas. Both my husband and I are from the Topeka area, and so we were in ministry here just in our local church for many years, and then God started us on this wonderful path to a more formal ministry. And when I went to St. Paul School of Theology, then they request that you be a part of a local church. And so I had small churches, and one of those churches decided, when Bishop Scheer invited, that they would become a covenant partner with a church in Mozambique in Africa. And so my husband said that he would go and visit the church. And he did that, which was a real challenge. And he received a call from the Lord to become a missionary. And so he became the coordinator between the United Methodist Church in Missouri and the United Methodist Church in Mozambique. And then when I graduated from St. Paul, I joined him there in ministry, and I worked with the conference evangelist. Every part of the United Methodist Church in Mozambique has an evangelist, and that's why, one of the reasons why the Lord blesses so mightily and the church is growing just by leaps and bounds. And so I traveled extensively all over Mozambique, seeing the wonderful connection and all that can happen between peoples of very different cultures, and yet really alike in so many ways. Many of the challenges that they have in Mozambique, we experienced here in this country in years earlier. But still, many things are exactly the same as what we have. And so all those connections that happened, I got to work with the United Methodist women in Mozambique on some occasions too. In fact, I work with the now bishop, Joaquin and Natalie, and so it was just so much joy and fascinating and challenging, and we really enjoyed being there.
How neat.
And then, of course, we've worked in ministry in Missouri and in Kansas. And even when you go on vacation, we have relatives in Florida, and we can go and visit United Methodist churches there. And when Katrina happened, you can go, we went to United Methodist churches, and they hosted us as we worked to clear stuff away. It's just, we are all around the world, and I am the volunteer now as the Conference Secretary of Global Ministries. And so I see that connection that happens all around the world, and is just really amazing how large we are and what God does in. I think that the more we can get rid of paperwork and doing the same thing over and over again, that will strengthen us. We always need small groups. We need challenges. We need to see where the Lord wants us to be in mission. We have such a wonderful Lord who sees us through failure and every kind of hurt and circumstance and joy. And as we share that with each other, then He becomes more alive and more real, and we learn to trust Him more, even when it seems like everything has gone wrong. And you see that when you go to Africa. There's so much wrong, and yet the people are full of joy because they know God, and Jesus is real to them, and the Holy Spirit helps. And the same is true for us. And yet it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to become embroiled in our tragedies and the struggles of life, and we forget that God is our ever-present help in every kind of trouble. And so as we connect with each other, as we especially have the small group experience, then we are strengthened, and God can speak to us through each other as well as through prayer and through His Word and through all the gifts that He gives to us.